This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The New York Mets will have to wait another day to get their first win in the 2025 season as they fall on opening day 3-1 to the Houston Astros. Welcome back to the Locked On Mets Postcast, now here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and on the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I am your postgame host, Chris Schubert, and I will be here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the regular season, now on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel to break down everything that happened from that day's game. And for us today, it is opening day, and while we woke up this morning feeling good, feeling excited, looking forward to what this new season would bring, we have to wait a little bit to get some excitement as the Mets fall to the Astros 3-1 on opening day. It was big debuts for Clay Holmes and Juan Soto. It was Pete Alonso back in the lineup. It was Mark Vientos and Francisco Lindor and the who's who of characters for the New York Mets. But the bats, a little sluggish. They tried to recapture some of their 2024 magic with an 8th and 9th inning rally that came up short. Hope everybody is ready for what's going to be a long baseball season here on the Locked On Mets postcast. And I'll tell you, was really excited today to see Clay Holmes make his opening day start for the New York Mets, see him make his Mets debut. And that's really the big story from today's game, because after what was an exciting spring, a spring that made you confident that Clay Holmes was going to be the opening day starter, he struggled. The Mets dug themselves an early hole, and it was a hole that they were unable to get out of. The final line for Clay Holmes in today's game: 4 2/3 inning pitched, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts on 89 pitches. The command that we saw all throughout the spring, the command that we saw light up the radar gun, that we saw allow him to be the talk after every single spring start, it was not there today. Missing up with the sinker. The sweeper was his best pitch throughout the day, and surprisingly didn't throw a lot of that kick change. Perhaps it was because this was a righty-heavy lineup, but that new tool, that new weapon, one of the new tools and new weapons that we saw from Clay Holmes in the spring, he kind of kept it in his back pocket today. Did not have the command of the sinker, was missing up. The 4 walks indicative of that. Didn't get some help from his defense behind him, from Luis Angel Acuna on a double play ball, and it was a disappointing opening to the season for Clay Holmes. But I think this is a reminder that spring is spring, the regular season is the regular season, and the command was an issue, but not something I think to overly worry about for the future as we enter into Clay Holmes's next start here down the road. Probably those opening day jitters, only his 5th big league start, the first big league start that he's had since 2018. So kind of comes with the territory that all the good stuff that you did in the spring, it's got to translate over. And the sweeper looked really good. Got a couple of nice strikeouts of Jose Altuve, one using that nice sweeper. So there was some good. There was some not so good when it comes to the command, but I think long-term things are right on track for Clay Holmes. And on a night where you only give up 3 runs, you expect the Mets offense to do a little more than they did. It was a struggle in the early goings of this game from everybody not named Juan Soto. And I guess we'll start with Juan Soto, the new $765 million man for the New York Mets, and him making his Mets debut. And it was as advertised in the early goings, that 9th inning at bat notwithstanding, but started with a single in the first inning. Really the only opportunity the Mets had in the early portion of the game to put some runs on the board. He got started with a single, drew a walk a little bit later on in the game, drew 2 walks. The Mets had, going into the 9th inning, only 3 walks in this game, and Juan Soto was the recipient of 2 of those 3 walks. You saw the patience, you saw the bat speed, the 3rd hardest hit ball in this game belonging to Juan Soto on that first inning single at 110.4 miles per hour. So you saw the bat speed, you saw the patience, you saw the eye, you saw his command of the strike zone. It was on full display, and you couldn't write a better story than that 9th inning where Juan Soto steps up to the dish with an opportunity to get the Mets back into the game. He works a full count doing Juan Soto things and makes a uncharacteristic Juan Soto mistake, swinging at a slider way outside of the zone from Josh Hader. But listen, this is a long ride. There's 162 of these. There's 161 after today. There's going to be some good. There's going to be some bad. There's going to be some ugly along the way over the course of the season. But I thought, all things considered, you saw why the Mets believed Juan Soto could be a part of this future and they could put him in that number 2 spot. But the offense was cold. You saw Mark Vientos have some at-bats early where he struggled. They had an opportunity. It was in the 7th inning where this game was 3-0. They were trying to battle back. Nimmo gets a leadoff single, and I wrote here, and for those who are longtime listeners of the Locked On Mets postcast from last season, you know I've got the notebook out, and the notebook has all of my notes throughout the game, and I wrote down in the 7th inning, Nimmo leadoff single, is this the chance? Is this that one opportunity that the Mets are going to have in this game late to try to battle back? Because even at 3-0 with Lindor, with Soto, with Alonso, with Vientos, with Nimmo, you know that if things are close, if things are tight, this Mets team has an offense where in the blink of an eye, they can put 3 runs on the board. So Nimmo, a leadoff single. Can the bottom of the order really do something here? Can they scratch 1 or 2 runs across and set things up in the 8th and 9th inning for the top of that lineup? And then you just got what I thought were 3 really bad at-bats from Starling Marte, Tyrone Taylor, and Luis Angel Acuna. Acuna redeemed himself later on in the 9th inning, but 3-pitch strikeout from Marte. Taylor swings at the first pitch and pops one up to the outfield. And then Acuna, he's a free swinger. We know that about Luis Angel Acuna. He's going to go up there and he's going to get his hacks. And he was swinging away, and I think it was 3, maybe it was 4 pitches, and he was back into the dugout. So a leadoff single, and you do absolutely nothing with it. After they got some base runners on in the first inning of the game into scoring position, I don't know if the Mets until the 9th inning got somebody as far as second base. So the bats were slow. Clay Holmes had a command issue, just not the ideal start when it comes to your pitching staff in terms of Clay Holmes, and when it comes to your offense getting off to a slow start. Part of what we're going to do here with the Locked On Mets postcast is we're going to have some trending topics. Our player of the game when the Mets pick up a victory, the turning point of the game, both good or bad, and then we will tell you what you'll be talking about for the rest of the day into the next time the Mets are on the field. So that is coming up when we get back here on the other side. Got to tell you about Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trade, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. March Madness is ongoing. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bets wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. With tournament games happening on almost every day, at least the rest of this week, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use. When I win, I get paid out instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Welcome back into the Locked On Mets postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and the Locked On Mets podcast feed for bigger picture thoughts, a little more deeper dive into everything going on with the New York Mets. Make sure you listen to Ryan Finkelstein and the Locked On Mets podcast, whether you consume it here on the YouTube channel or you're joining us in the podcast feed. He'll give you those deeper dives on all things New York Mets. Like I mentioned, we're going to have some themed segments here all throughout the year on the Locked On Mets postcast, because I know some of you are new. I know some of you didn't necessarily join us during that magical run in the second half of last year. So I'm a new face to many of you, but we did this last year. We had a lot of fun, and we've got some new things up our sleeve this year, and that is some of these themed segments that we are going to do. So a 9-inning game, Clay Holmes makes his Mets debut. Juan Soto makes his Mets debut. The Mets fall for the second straight year on opening day. Lost to the Brewers last year on opening day. They'll be back in action tomorrow night when they will have Tyler McGill on the mound in the second of this 3-game set with the Houston Astros. But out of everything, Juan Soto, Clay Holmes, the offense, those rallies in the 8th and 9th inning, what is the one big takeaway? What is the thing that you will be talking about tomorrow?
This is what you'll be talking about.
I think it'll be the 9th inning of this game. And Clay Holmes, it was disappointing. He'll probably tell you that in the post-game media availability that he has. Did not have the command that he wanted. I'm sure the offense will be frustrated that they got off to a slow start. But I think the thing that you're going to be talking about, the takeaway that you're going to have from a game like today, is that rally that we saw in the 9th inning. Because I'm sure a lot of you were like me, watching those things develop sort of in the 8th inning, but very much in the 9th inning. And you started thinking to yourself, this feels eerily similar. This feels like what we saw at the end of last year. This feels like what we saw in the postseason against the Phillies, against the Dodgers. Those late inning heroics, the late inning magic against the Braves in the final game of the season. Game 3 of the wild card series against the Brewers. The aforementioned Philly series in the divisional round. Those late inning heroics, somebody new coming through every single night. And while it didn't end up leading to a comeback, while the Mets weren't able to complete the comeback in the 9th inning, you saw the hallmarks of a team that still believes that they can do it. It's the bottom part of the order in the 9th inning. Starling Marte and Tyrone Taylor get singles on sliders that Josh Hader hangs into the zone. So there's your 6 and your 7 hitters starting things off. Your 8 hitter, a rookie, a young Luis Angel Acuna, against one of the best closers in the game in Josh Hader, battles. A 12-pitch at bat that watches him foul off pitch after pitch after pitch to stay alive, laid off a slider in the dirt to force it to 3-2. Just a masterful at bat from somebody who is still learning, still developing, a young player in this game. And I'll tell you, I was kind of thinking ahead here watching that 9th inning, and I thought to myself that if the Mets complete this comeback and we had to pick a turning point of the game, it was going to be that at bat, because that at bat changes the way Hader has to approach the rest of that inning. Acuna getting on and loading the bases up for Hayden Senger, who got to make his Major League Baseball debut. If he's up with only 2 guys on and 1 man out already, changes the entire dynamic of the way Hader has to attack him. But instead, Acuna draws the 12th pitch at bat, draws the walk to load the bases, and it completely changes the course of that inning. It allows the Mets to get Lindor and Soto up to bat with a chance to drive home the run to tie the game. And so just tip of the cap to Luis Angel Acuna, because his playing time, it's not guaranteed. Him and Beatty are going to share second base until Jeff McNeil comes back. He's in the lineup today because they're facing a lefty in Framber Valdez, and he made the most of that at bat in the 9th inning. Didn't think he had a great game up until that point, had the tough play defensively, but when it mattered, when the lights were brightest and the Mets needed somebody to come through with a big at-bat, a 12-pitch walk to extend the inning to put more pressure on the Astros. Unfortunately, they came up short, but you like to see those things here moving forward. So I think the thing you'll take away from today's game is that the Mets have that fight in them that we saw last year. And with this lineup healthy, when this lineup starts to get hot, I think you're going to see some of the similar tunes that we saw this team singing in the second half, especially late into September and October. They're going to be singing a very similar tune this year. Like I mentioned, next up for the New York Mets, it will be Tyler McGill on the mound tomorrow when they will take on the Houston Astros, as they will look to have a bounce-back performance. They will look to not repeat last year. Last year, it was a 0-2 start. It was an 0-5 start for this team as they lost their first 5 games before rallying to make the playoffs. They will try to avoid a 0-2 start like last year when they take care of business tomorrow with Tyler McGill on the mound. So these are short. These are about 15 to 20 minutes after each and every Mets game throughout the year. So again, I know there's a lot of new listeners here, new viewers to the Locked On Mets postcast. So welcome. We're glad to have you. We're super excited to be on board, whether it's myself hosting these postcasts. It'll normally be me every day. But when I'm not available, we'll ask Ryan to see if he can pinch hit throughout the course of the season. So looking forward to enjoying these games and having these post-game conversations with each and every one of you after these games. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Schubert _. Again, after each and every Mets game, we are here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel to break down every one of these games. Don't worry, Ryan's not going anywhere. He'll give you the big picture thoughts in the Locked On Mets podcast feed each and every day. A disappointing start, not the start that we wanted, obviously, with the pomp and circumstance of Juan Soto and Clay Holmes making his opening day start, making his first start in 6 seasons, and all the excitement that we had about this team. It sucks that I had to write down in this book that the record for the New York Mets is 0-1, but they'll play 161 more, and I guarantee you that we'll be back here sooner rather than later to discuss a New York Mets victory. So that's going to do it for us here on the first New York Mets postcast for the 2025 season. As the Mets fall to the Astros, their 9th inning rally falls just a little bit short. They lose 3-1. We are back later on this weekend. I will be back on Saturday after the series finale when the Mets take on the Astros. But that is going to do it for us here on this edition of the Locked On Mets postcast. Appreciate you all being here. We will talk to you next time. And as always, let's go Mets.